What's up guys, welcome back to the channel for another top 10 list. Today we're going to be covering my thoughts on the top 10 best teamfight ultimates in the game. Of course, this is based solely on these abilities' performance in a full-scale 5v5 teamfight only. No 1v1s or 3v3 skirmishes or anything like that, just pure 5v5 teamfight potential. As always, if you disagree with this list, then be sure to leave your personal favourites in the comments and why you like them. We're all different and we all rate different things higher than others, this is just my own personal opinion. Also, the order isn't really that relevant on this one. I had to order them just so I could call it a top 10 list, but really a lot of these could have been anywhere on the list at number 1 or at number 10, they're all just really good. But without further ado, let's dive right into this list with the number 10 spot. So coming in at number 10 is Artemis' Caledonian Boar. This ability is just really insane considering it's on a hunter. It can easily stun multiple targets in fights with how quick the boar charges. It does pretty good damage actually to every target it hits. It can body block auto attacks. It's really easy to use, like some CCs you can miss, but this is basically unmissable. It's quick to activate, and Artemis has really good high damage auto attacks to follow up on this ability, along with the rest of her team of course. And it also gives you a really long period of CC immunity. It has been nerfed, it used to be 3 seconds, but it's still a decent amount of CC immunity for a hunter to have in a teamfight. And overall, just the ability to stun multiple people for 1.5 seconds, with it being basically unmissable, is like really powerful, which is why it takes the number 10 spot. Coming at number 9 is Sylvanas' Wrath of Terra. Now, knockups are pretty OP, and this is a giant AoE knockup that can easily catch 2, 3, or even 4 people in a fight. Knockups are probably the most powerful CC in the game because you can't cleanse it, you have to press your beads before the knockup even hits. If you get caught by the knockup, you can't cleanse it and you're basically fucked. It's great with Blink as an initiation or even just as a defensive ultimate. If like the enemy decide to focus you out, send 3 or 4 people on you, you can just ult in place and then your team can follow up with some big high damage mage ults or something like that and just get like a bunch of free kills. And it actually does a lot of damage itself, to be honest. It's like does upwards about 600 damage to every target you hit, which is pretty insane. And also you get the CC immunity as well, which is great for dodging certain things in fights. Coming in at number 8 is Geb's Cataclysm. This is very similar in effect to Wrath of Terra. It's easy to hit multiple people and it stuns for 2 seconds at max rank, which is slightly longer than Sylvanas' ult knockup. I think that's about 1.5 seconds, though it doesn't fully state the actual length of that ability. It can be cleansed though, unlike Wrath of Terra, which is a little bit worse, but it does percent health damage, so you don't need to have power for it to be a good ability, it just chunks people's health anyway, and it combos straight into his 2 for even more CC. It's mainly the 2 second stun on this one though. It's fairly quick to activate, so you can easily catch multiple people in it, and stunning multiple people for 2 seconds in a team fight is kind of a recurring theme on this list. It's really fucking powerful. Number 7 is Odin's Ring of Spears. This simply hard counters so many picks. Any healers like Hel, Ra, Chang'e, any god without a jump such as like Thoth, Apwash, Ra. I mean I've mentioned Ra before because he's a healer, but it's a double counter to Ra because he can't get out of the cage and he's also a healer. Like any gods that can't escape the cage are basically fucked, and you basically force the enemy team to waste relics on buying phantoms. Sometimes you even need 2 to deal with an Odin because of how ridiculously low the cooldown on this ultimate is. With full CDI, you can get this down to about 45 seconds, which is way lower than the cooldown of Phantom, so the enemy team really needs to pick up 2 to deal with it, which really hampers their ability to teamfight because they have to forego relics like Sprint and Shell and Horrific Emblem and stuff because they have to get Phantom. You can easily force ultimates, phantoms, jumps and things, and then just ult again for a free kill in like another 45 seconds. You can even get 2 of these off in one teamfight sometimes. And with the huge radius, you can easily trap 3 or 4 people in and force a bunch of cooldowns. It's just insanely powerful, like when comboed with other things like a Scylla ultimate or a Vulcan ultimate, things like that, like the iconic Vulcan or Cupid ult in the middle of it, or a Zeus ult. It's just insanely powerful. Number 6 is Guanyu's Cavalry Charge. It's a really long duration slow if you stay on the horse for as long as you can possibly do it. It's like 4 or 5 seconds of really heavy slow, especially if you have the passive. It's 40%, which is really insane. And it has up to a 2 second stun if you do have the passive, which of course we've discussed with things like Geb Ultimate before. A 2 second stun basically means death unless you have beads in a teamfight. The damage output on this ability is actually really insane. It could do easily over 1,000 if you hit with a lot of swings. It can even do upwards of 1,500 if you hit with all swings on the same target because of the damage escalation. It gives a ridiculous amount of CC immunity if you do need to use it for things like that. Like, it's often a good counter to Odin ult because you can just run around on the horse in Odin cage slowing everyone while you're CC immune, and you can just like jump off the horse when Odin cage ends, get a stun, and then your team can follow up. You can even chase kills with this as well because of the ridiculous slow of course, and also CC immunity and bonus movement speed. And of course you can always dismount early for the guaranteed stun on multiple people in a team fight, which is just obviously very powerful. Coming in at number 5 is Scylla's I'm a Monster. This is probably the first entry on the list that is just pure damage and isn't really anything related to CC. She's called the Queen of Pentakills for a reason. This is probably top 5 in terms of mage ult damage, and it's resettable. Fairly easy to hit as well, especially with the 1, and it's the only ability in the game that can reliably wipe out an entire team. It could even go over walls. Just the reset mechanic is really what makes this ability. It especially combos well with a lot of other ultimates on this list. Like if you get a Geb ultimate straight into a Scylla ult, you'll often get at least 1 reset, and if you get 1 reset, you basically just win the team fight. Any more than that, it's literally just over. That's how powerful this ultimate can be in a team fight. This is probably a little bit more of a controversial one, but it's one that I really feel does deserve a high spot on this list, but some of you probably will disagree. It's Zhonghui's Recall Demons. This is slightly higher than Scylla because it's just a more reliable ultimate. It makes Zhonghui insanely tanky and slow and root immune, does an insane amount of damage, can slow with Gem of Isolation and proc Spear of the Magus and things like that to increase your team's damage. It can easily destroy squishes in fights and even tanks as well, honestly. And it's just a hell of a lot more reliable than Scylla's, because if you don't get any reset on Scylla's, it's just your basic ultimate, whereas Zhonghui's will always be powerful, especially with that boost to protections. You can normally survive and just run around in a team fight just throwing demons at everyone and doing a crap ton of damage. On to number 3, Amaterasu's Dazzling Offensive. Yep, you guessed it, it's a 2-second stun. It's really easy to land as well on multiple people in a team fight. It actually has really good damage. It's like not on the level of like a Zhonghui or a Scylla obviously because it's a warrior ultimate, but for a tank ultimate it can do over 1,000 damage, pre-mitigations obviously, in a team fight, which is really insane on multiple people. It's great for forcing beads or ultimates. It's more reliable than something like Ares or guanyu for doing that, and the low cooldown to force relics, and then you can just like wait 75 seconds or however long. If you have full CDR it's like 50 seconds, and then you can just ult again and kill the people that you forced the beads on earlier. And I'm kind of harping on about this 2-second stun thing, but that is basically the highest stun available in Smite outside of something like Chang'e ult, which is like really RNG, so it's just insanely powerful. Coming in at number 2 is Terra's Earthen Fury. Ever since this ultimate got reworked, I just kind of sit here thinking, why does this ultimate do so much stuff? Like even hitting just 2 teammates and 2 enemies in a fight with this, it heals for over 1,000, does over 800 damage, and gives you 5% mitigation and makes enemies take 5% more damage. That is just broken. Any more people than like 4 and it just becomes ridiculously OP. Hitting anything above 6 people in a team fight, it can literally just win a team fight on its own with this ability, honestly. It's not a particularly flashy ultimate. It's not like a Scylla getting a pentakill with her ultimate or a big Amaterasu ultimate or something like that, but it's just like low-key OP because it does so many things for your team in a team fight. It's just ridiculous. Alright, before we get to the number 1 spot, I've got 2 honourable mentions in Ares and Cupid. Both of these ultimates that are like really good for like being beads burners or just getting a lot of kills by like pulling people in and CCing them and things like that, but they didn't really make the list because they're just too unreliable. Ares' ultimate is really easy to beads or dodge with the CC immune ultimate, and Cupid's you can often just like either beads it or like sprint out of it with the slow immunity and stuff. They're just not as reliable as a lot of the other ones on this list, which is why they didn't quite make it. But they're definitely still very powerful. And number 1 is humbat's Fear No Evil. Was it really going to be anything else? Like, this is just the iconic teamfight ultimate in Smite. It's got insane levels of CC for a single ability in one of the largest AoEs in the entire game. It hits all targets immediately at once, and it's easy to position in like jungle corridors to force people into walls and get free kills. You can also blink behind people or just put the totem behind someone and push people into your team or out of their own towers and things like that. It's decent as a beads burner itself, but it's best used if you have a beads burner on your team. So if you get like something like an Ares ultimate, burn all their beads, blink in with a Bats ult, you just win that fight straight up, which is just insane, and that's why it takes the number 1 spot on my list. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this one. As always, let me know if you agree with me or not. Also, before we end this one off, I'm kind of in a bit of a creative slump right now in terms of cool video ideas. Obviously there's still guides and rants as they're pretty easy to get ideas for, you just pick a god and you make one, but in terms of other content like discussions, top 5s and 10s and any other sort of stuff I want to do, I'm kind of low on actually good video ideas. Of course I'm going to be covering any Season 6 news on here as that becomes available in the next couple of months, and I've also considered doing like a kind of quick build guide series that's more of like a 5 minutes quite quick starter guide instead of my usual guides, because not everyone has the patience to sit through a 20-minute video on just one god. So let me know if something like that sounds like something you want to see. And of course, if you guys do have any other games you want me to play or try out and make content on, then let me know as well. So leave any video ideas you have in the comments and I'll probably use some of them in the near future, but that's about it for now. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, you nerds.